I constantly get asked the tools and tips and tricks that millionaires are using. And one tool that I highly recommend, and it's recommended by millionaires too, is something that will help you run your payroll. And I know it's like, it's so annoying to have to do payroll. Well, now you can do it in typically around 11 minutes with Gusto. They're actually simple, easy. They'll file and pay your taxes for you. Your W-2s will all be done and you don't have to worry about it. How amazing would that be? Plus, they have an HR expert on call. So you can call them and be able to get your HR questions answered. Plus they have benefits like 401k and health benefits for any budget. And I know I get asked that question all the time. So go check it out. We've actually partnered with them. And so when you run your first payroll through them, they'll give you 3 months free. Just go to gusto.com/EM and check it out for yourself. Today, we're doing something a little different. So I'm not interviewing a millionaire for today's show. In fact, who I'm talking to is someone that's a regular business owner. So not necessarily someone that's just trying to get more publicity at the moment. They're looking for coaching from me. So they're a 6-figure business owner, ideally, hopefully similarly to your type of business. And I'm going to be telling them exactly what to do. Since I've been a business coach for 10 years, I've over 5,000 hours of one-on-one coaching time. We're peeling back that curtain. I want to show you the stuff that I actually tell clients so that way you can take those nuggets and use them in your business too. This is also in beta. So please, we want to hear your feedback, what you think, what you liked, what you didn't like, how we can improve. That way we can make this show an amazing resource that you have to listen to. I don't want to waste your time in any way. I want you to be like, give me more, please. So let us know how we can serve you best. Take care.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to The Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jaime Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jaime Masters, and this show is different. This is the laser coaching show, and we have my dear friend Estie Rand on the show. You can check her out at estierand.com, and I'm going to be coaching her. So thanks so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. You ready?
I am so excited to be here. I was born ready.
That's what they all say, the good ones. So what I want you to do is go and tell the audience what your business is, what type of programs and products you sell, so that way they have a good idea.
Sure. So in my business, we help other business owners earn more money with less headache. It is a full service consultancy catering to micro business owners. So anything you'd imagine a Fortune 500 company getting from like a Deloitte, McKinsey, one of the big guys, we do for small business owners. So that is strategy and implementation. So they get guidance, coaching, strategic development, business plans, marketing strategies. And then if they need help making it happen, I have a team of writers, designers, coders, database builders, and we can also do their social media ghosting, their branding, their websites, all of that good stuff.
You have said that before. That sounded fantastic. Okay, so what do you want to get out of today's session? Because I know you've had coaches. You actually have a coach right now that's not me. So I told you I don't want to overstep on what they're doing. But what do you want to get out of today's session?
So I'll tell you that what I have now, when I started it, I started doing it full-time about 8 years ago, really been doing it for about 10 years if you consider when I was doing it on the side. And my dream was to build this full-service consulting firm. That was the dream. And then sometime within the last year or so, we did. And it was stable and it's working and it's growing. And I'm like, okay, what's next? Because I'm just like, once I've mastered one thing, I'm like, okay, did this. And I realized that I really wanted to do programs. Right? There were so many people I wanted to help as my rates have gone up. My whole passion is to help people pay less and earn more, both in their implementation, both on me. And as I became more expensive, as honestly I should be in terms of skill set, it wasn't affordable to people. And so I want to try to build these group programs. Here's the issue. You have a consulting firm that does group programs. That's weird. Yeah. And then I started a podcast, and the podcast ended up going under my personal brand. And then that became like a separate thing. And then everything just became a hot mess where like I knew who I was. I knew what I was doing for years. And then suddenly within the last 6 months, I'm like, okay, now I don't really know.
Yeah. You're like, this is smart. Oh, wait, what did I get into? Oh, awesome. And how many children do you have?
I have 5 children.
And 5 children, because that's normal. She's dealing with absolutely everything, which I so appreciate. And this is why we already had a little pre-call just so everybody knows. So we're going to try and piece apart the next, especially 3 months, but hopefully 6 months if we can dive into that and really understand what goes where so you can hit your goals easier and better and faster. that make sense?
I would love that. One of the things I did when I sat down and really wanted to grow the business, I looked at it and I said, to grow the consultancy at the rate I want to and scale it, not only would it be an insane amount of work, it won't really work. My whole business works because I'm like a consulting firm in one. And the reason that most of people cannot do this is because as soon as you start having a marketing consultant, financial systems, and you have to pay each one separately, it's no longer affordable for the little guy. And so I just looked at that and said, if I am going to scale, it's going to be on these information products, group coaching, and that kind of stuff.
Do you still want to do, so for the micro businesses that don't have, and I would love to know package pricing numbers because we're going to go over some of this stuff in just a second, but for like one of the programs that you have, are you hoping to do implementation also for the micro business at a lower price point once they've gone through the group program, or how are you going to facilitate some of that stuff? Have you thought about it?
Yeah, so my vision for it is that the group programs are kind of the lowest ticket entry. Either there'll a few different ideas for what that'll look like, but that's definitely the lowest ticket entry. And then above that, there's always the ability to upgrade for one-on-one hand-holding. So, as they say, the do-it-yourself at the bottom, then a done with you in the middle.
Right.
And so whether with myself or I've been training 2 other consultants the last few months in our program so that they could hold people's hands as well through the process. So that'll be probably a 5X from the baseline program. And then above that, people are trained to do their own implementation or to hire on their own, or they can hire our team where they have a done for you. So let's say the initial group course that we did just finished the last cohort, the first cohort, actually the last class of the first cohort. Yeah, thank you. So cool. So people can then come to us to do their implementation.
Okay.
Where we will then build their website, build their campaign, do the design for them, do the deployment. But I looked at the numbers. I don't know.
Ooh.
I want to do it.
Okay.
The numbers don't make sense. I want to do it because no one else competent does.
I love that.
Sorry, guys.
I think that's amazing. She's like, I'm better, just so everybody's clear. Okay, so I want to break all this down, especially from your goals, but can you just tell me a little bit more about that group program specifically, how long it is so everybody understands, and how many people you had come through this last session?
Sure. So this was the first time I called it Marketing Magic. It helps business owners never waste money on marketing again. They build a full marketing strategy for their business, understanding core foundation like branding and targeting. We move into asset creation, which includes the actual product you sell. Some people are like, but I already have a product. I'm like, great. Is it the right one? They're like, now I don't know. I'm like, good. Now we're on the right track. So actually what you're going to sell, and then all the marketing assets, and then moving into sales, social media, and all the implementation, how you actually go and get the people and then convert them in, and building that self-sustaining sales cycle. It was an 8-week group coaching program. Okay. I did what some people call a seed launch or soft launch, where I sold it before it existed. It existed in my mind, right? And it existed.
And it was great in there.
It was great in there. No, and again, we've been doing this one-on-one with clients for years and years and years. So the material was there. I even had probably 70, 80% of the worksheets done because we've been giving them to clients, just codifying it into a group teaching I'd never done. So was once a week I taught it. Now those are all done. They are all in our membership site. I don't have to do them again. Some I'll probably upgrade and refine. And then once a week, we did a group coaching call. I got a private white label network because I'm not a Facebook fan. Sorry, guys.
What's that one? Because I was actually researching some of that stuff. What's the name of that program?
So I used Mighty Networks.
Oh, okay.
And I've been very happy with them.
Okay, great.
They're great. Not too expensive, super simple to use. A couple things where they fall short of something like Facebook, but I'm not a Facebook person. I find that Facebook's tough because as soon as someone goes in there, they're distracted by 15 other things.
Oh, I know. Believe me. I've actually asked all the mastermind people, what do you use? Everyone's like, Facebook. I'm like, are you kidding me? People are still using Facebook. Anyway, side note. Okay, so when we're looking at how many you actually sold and ran through, and how crazy was it for you? I know it's a seed launch, but you had 35 total paying members and 6 upgraded to VIP from when you went before.
Correct.
Okay. Was that manageable for you?
Yeah. The sell part was really overwhelming. The team was not ready for that many people asking questions to get in. But people in the program, I saw about 22 to 25 fully active. Okay. Which I was pretty happy with. That's like a nice, more than 2/3. And then there were probably anywhere between 7 and 10 that they're kind of sketch.
That happens often. Yeah, just in general. I'm going to back up a little bit because I know one of your main goals is you want to hit 1 million this year. And so when we start figuring out what's going to be the best bang for your buck that you actually spend the most time on in the next quarter or two, I'm going to do it based on that. So do you know how much in Q2 you already need to make, or do you want me to back it up and start figuring that out for you too?
So when I played with it, I actually played with this the other day when I ran here, I actually wrote it down. So I ran this whole like business life balance training for the group. I had offered it as a bonus. And so I broke down my cues. So had I hit, so I readjusted my goal. I did want to hit 1 million in a year.
We always have to readjust the goal. I'm so glad you said that. Good, because I was going to ask you.
Yeah, because when I set this up originally, beginning of January, I said I could hit 1 million in a year. I'll put 600 people through this program. I'll get it launched in January, and then I'll turn it into an evergreen and sell it the entire year. And then we'll do some of our other stuff on the side for the other, 400K, no big deal. And then having done it and realizing what it was, and then you and I spoke briefly before. I'm like, we might want to reassess. So I reassessed. I said, we'll hit the million by 2020.
Good.
In the year 2020.
Thank you.
So 2 years.
Because people can, and how much did you make last year if you're cool with talking about that?
So last year we did 178.
Okay. And so doubling, easier. Tripling, can do. Things get a little sticky, especially when you're more of an agency consulting model. 4 or 5 timesing, kind of insane. And you have 5 children. So when we talked the first time, I was like, so I love big goals. Don't get me wrong. And we talked about this before. You're the type of person that just adores big goals. Even if you don't hit them, you're okay with it, which some people are not. But I would so appreciate you just dropping it down a little so we can make it super tangible, especially for everybody listening too. So Q2, so if you made what in Q1, what do you have to hit in Q2 to hit your goal?
So I played with it like this. I said, if I drop my goal to 600K for this year, I feel like that's a lot more reasonable.
Triple. Yes, exactly.
Which is triple,
yep.
But I've completely changed the model of how I'm doing things. Totally. So I feel like doable.
Yep.
So in Q1, we hit almost 50K. Great. Which was so cool, by the way. Like that was a very, like when I did my business, the first year in business, I don't think I did 50. And like to do that in Q1 was really nice. So I felt for Q2, I needed to hit 100. And I wanted to do
Q2 because we're up to 150 then, and then you're going to do you're going to do like 200 and then 300, or how are you going to?
I was saying 50, 100, and then 200, 250.
Okay.
And my thought process was, I did the seed launch. I've got the material. I don't have to put a lot of work into the program itself. I now know what it looks like. I've got ambassadors, and I've got a lot of testimonials, both written and video, from people who've gone through the course. My thought was, I'll build a PLF. Product launch funnel.
Oh, all those people. Yep.
Yeah.
I like Jeff Walker. Don't get me wrong. I'm just, yes. Okay. So we'll talk about that.
I thought it was a cool idea, but I'm open to all different ideas.
I'm open for testing. So I'm totally cool with that. And we can totally put that on the list because I know we have a lot of that on the list. So in Q2, were you planning on launching another?
I want to launch another cohort. I was going to launch another cohort, make that a PLF launch so that I start to codify the process. This launch was a webinar launch, so I know what a webinar launch looks like. I wanted to try
your numbers
a PLF
were really great, though, for the webinar launch. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of a thing. So when I was looking through your numbers from at the very beginning throughout the entire funnel, now this is your people, not cold. You got 8%. So 434 on the webinar registrations to 18 purchased live, 35 total, and then 6 upgraded, which is 17%, which is also really good. So I hear.
So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Estie, why are you going nuts? You have to build a PLF and figure out how and get professional equipment. Like, why did you do that if your webinar sold so well?
Ding, ding, ding. So I had a client who did really, really, really well in webinars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in webinars, was like, I'm going to do a PLF launch, hired a launch person to do a PLF launch, didn't even come close. Her people just love webinars. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, lesson learned for sure. But for you and the amount of time that you have, I would run the same thing again, just so you know. So, because imagine how much time it's going to take to have to do a whole new sequence instead of tweaking the sequence that you already have.
Okay. I could do that because I have the videos that we used to fill up the webinar. And the traffic was largely warm, right? I didn't spend any money on it at all. I did my own social networks, LinkedIn and Instagram. That was it. I didn't even put it on Facebook. I didn't even touch my Facebook network. So we could definitely hit them up next time.
Great.
Haven't been so active there. And my thought would be to aim to get close to 100 people in the program in Q2, which really, I don't have to even get that many to hit the 100K.
Well,
It's a
that's what I was
thousand
going to
dollar
say. How it's
program.
$1,000 program. Yeah.
It's a
So,
$1,000 program, and the VIP upgrade the first time was a $2,700, which I will never do again, ever.
okay, good to know.
It's going to be 4,700, and I'll
Okay.
tell you the reasoning.
Oh, I'm sure I
I
know.
was
Yes, go
I
ahead.
was trying to find a way to make it not as expensive, but still give them more, and we ended up in like kind of a no man's land. So people were helped; they definitely got more, but a lot of them were like, "I want even more,"
Yep.
and I'm like, you know what? Cool. We're going to do even more. So we're going to make the upgrade 4,700. Instead of them having these extra group calls and the team involved, they're going to have a weekly meeting with one of our coaches. Some of those might even be with me. There's just some things that I do better than other people. Still working on that. And then we guide them hand holding through the entire process. So
Okay.
that the VIP, the second time around, so it would probably get us a lower percentage. It'll be more money,
Yep.
but I don't know that it wouldn't balance out, right? If let's say we had 6 upgrade at the 2,700 this time, if 4 upgrade at the 4,700,
Yep.
still good.
Yeah, and we can run some numbers on some of that stuff. What are you doing on the consulting side in Q2? Do you already have an expectation of what's coming in for Q2 or no?
Not really.
Okay.
Like the consulting's always been full word of mouth, right? And just some basic social media, no real marketing, if you would call it that at all.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
but my
it's been
question
fun.
then is how much, so when we look at especially what you have for expenses and all that fun stuff, right? Because gross revenue is one thing, net is another. Are you filling your capacity with some coaching clients? I say coaching, I'm so used to saying coaching, consulting clients separately so that way you have some revenue coming in, or are we just shooting 100K for the group program?
No, I am fully booked on consulting.
Okay, so that's what I
coaching
thought.
clients.
Okay.
Still fully booked,
Yes.
still looking for space in the schedule.
So
And that's where we're trying to train other people. So
yeah.
definitely an easy 10 to 15K a month still on our other stuff. Say
Okay.
minimum 10, high ball 20, which is why the program I think is such a better bet. Because if on the consulting we can do 15, 20 comfortable,
Yep.
but on the program we did 40 on the launch.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why I'm asking all this is because we have a tendency as humans to go, "Oh, I can do it all," right? But you're fully booked for clients, so pat yourself on the back. And you can probably run another. The more you run, the more customer service, the more team sort of issues come up. So I just want to go, hey, let's make sure our numbers look really good. Don't get me wrong, we can always overshoot, knowing what we have. But if your goal for Q2 is only 100, you're going to hit it with even a tiny launch. Does that make sense?
Right. So
Or you
I can
should.
make my Q2 goal 150 because I could expect that if I relaunch this and I did it really well the first time, and this time I throw some paid into it.
Mhm.
But we know that the process works. We know the social videos we did worked. We know it threw a lot of nice people into the webinar. We could say, listen, we had 35 in the first launch. Let's say we put 70 in the second launch.
Great.
Let's say of those 70, let's say only 10% upgrade. I'll be stingy on it. 10% upgrade at the 5K. I'm rounding it.
Yeah, you're using
So
your calculator. Good old calculators. Good. I'll let you do it.
I'm not. I'm sketching it on pen and
Oh,
paper.
good. I
I
need a
didn't even plug it
calculator.
in.
No, I totally need
Um,
a calculator, so I'm totally going to do
but
that.
7 people do the 5K, so that's about 35.
Yep.
I would get 100 from a 70-person launch. And
Yep.
then if we're still doing the consulting monthly, even if we tone it down a bit, but we have
You'd have at least
what's nice
45.
about this pyramid is there are people who are now coming out of the program who've taken
Totally.
us to do their implementation. We already have 2 signed up, another 2 or 3 that are maybes. So that's going to add nicely as well. Maybe I could shoot for 150 in Q2.
It would make it easier for your next launches later if you think that's an easy number that you can hit. How about your team and actually customer service and all that fun stuff on the actual launch? Do you think 70 is doable for the current team that you have right now?
No, we need another person. No question.
Okay, so we already know we need another person. Okay.
We definitely need another person, and we need the current people to be complete. We need 2 more people. We need one. We need to take the main admin team out of project management completely, hand that over to a project manager. We need another admin. We'll need 3 admins on deck to do a
3
70-person
admins
launch. I
for
think so.
customer service?
I think so.
Okay, we're going to break that down maybe in a little bit, but
Okay. I could be wrong, but we had 2 for this one, and it was like heavy. Oh, I know why. Because we were doing something else at the same time. Oh, I forgot. We did a LinkedIn Influencer Summit. We did that on January 15th. And then we
I
did
remember.
this launch
Yes.
on
Okay,
January
that makes
30th.
sense.
That's what overwhelmed them. Okay, so no, could be that I can use my 2. If I don't do anything else at the same time.
Well, and we
So
can.
I won't mention the event that we planned for May 22nd.
Whoa. Let's talk about that. Okay. So let me just say one thing. So I have lots of clients with lots of customer service teams and all that fun stuff. So usually you have to have a lot more than 70, but it also depends on if you have a moderator and how deep you go. So I'll ask you all those questions later because we don't have enough time right now. But what the heck's going on May what?
No, so I'm just planning with I'm very big on LinkedIn. Like that is where I found my zone on social media for sure. So we got together with a bunch of LA LinkedIn influencers and we're aiming to do a LinkedIn local. So I'm just kind of part of the organizing team. It's not like all on me, not the chief arranger, but I am part of the team who's trying to make it nice.
Overachievers like to say yes. Okay, so and don't get me wrong. That's totally cool. And we want to parse it all out so it's a little bit easier for everyone. So because in Q2, when I like to group things. So you think of people that talk about their entire year and they're like, this year we have 3 words, right? I like to go, okay, this quarter is all about this, right? So if you're going to do another launch and make it bigger, it's really going to be about tweaking the launch and the systems that you have. Because usually after the first beta you do, you're like, okay, most of it went well, 80% usually goes pretty well. And then it does take some time to go over the launch stuff and the plan, because you're also going to be amplifying it quite a bit. So you're probably going to add a whole bunch of extra pieces, especially with the conversion rate on some of that stuff. And then just in general, actually doing it and potentially teaching your people to be better moderators and all that fun stuff too. So I like to group it, because when I was looking at your list, because you sent me a list of all the things, right? I love entrepreneurs. They're like, and I want to do all of the things, and ideally right now.
I try to run the world. Like, it's cool.
Can we just change space-time, though? This would be so much easier. Right?
Space-time continuum is totally flexible.
Totally. And I agree. And let's make it easier in the real world for right now. Because part of these, you said learn ClickFunnels, and part of that stuff, especially whether that be you or your team, that we have to take into account, like what quarter does that go in? And if it goes in Q2 because it's going to set you up for the rest of the year, that's time that you need to allocate for that, right? Especially because you're doing LinkedIn Local, you're doing a launch, and you have a ton of consulting clients. Now I know you're Superwoman because you have 5 kids.
When you say it like that, I feel overwhelmed.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to read the other stuff that you would like to do. And don't get me wrong, what we'll end up doing is we'll putting them in different quarters, right? So that way we can really go, oh, I want to do that. It doesn't have to be right now. We can do everything, just not at once, right? So not right now, but then we can start parsing and putting it in which quarter and then which month based on what you already have. Because I know you wrote learn ClickFunnels, and you have to update your estierand.com for PR and sales, launch Codify Magic, which is something completely separate is what it sounds like, book stages, PPC, organic marketing to courses, hire a salesperson potentially in New York. Like there should be a framework for what goes where, so it'll be easier for you to go, all I have to do this month is this. And then you can do it to the level of excellence that I know you like, right? With the amount of time, because, and I've been slapped in the face way too many times this way. Even one of my old assistants was like, Jaime, any data, any piece of a date that you give me, I double it no matter what. And we talked about this before, right? She's like, no, I can make my team move as fast as me. It's going to be fine. I'm like, well, let's be nicer to them, right?
Totally. Give them a little bit of breathing.
Yes, exactly. You love to work all the time, but no, and you don't work all the time, which is great. You gave me all your time blocking and stuff like that, and we can go over pieces of that in a second after we go over this. But when I think about Q2, I do think you can hit 150. I actually think it would most likely be better to try and hit, especially you're a BHAG kind of gal, try and hit a little bit higher up front. So that way, Christmas time, you don't have to be like, I'm not making it in December and then not see your children. Not that you would do that, but you know what I mean, right?
Fair.
Right? You're like, I have a goal and I want to hit it. And yep, okay, great, right? Okay. So, and I know you don't celebrate Christmas, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. No, I know where that falls in the calendar. End of December.
Same thing.
We need $100,000 in the next 5 days. Let's do it, guys.
Sale. Okay. So when we're looking at what that is, if we hit 150, which totally seems doable for you in Q2, which means you're learning ClickFunnels then, right? Because that'll be a little bit easier.
No, I did that already. The list you're looking at was my list of things that I thought I would do in January.
So what is speaking or 3 of them? And booking stages, and what are those all about?
I thought I was going to do all of that in January.
Okay. And 2 launches. Side note. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I did learn ClickFunnels. I listened to Russell Brunson
Yes,
at 2x speed, all of his trainings. He's amazing. And
Nobody
then
can
I
listen
built
to
a
us at
whole
2x speed because we speak too fast, just as a side note. But
I know they can't. I listen to things at the speed with which I talk. I tell people, I'm like, I'm recorded. You can listen to me at half speed if you feel better.
I've
All
had
good.
people say that to me too, which is hilarious. Okay, so if we do 150 in Q2, then we can just do 200 and 200 ish, and that way it'll be a little bit
That's
more
more
breathing room.
comfortable.
Yep, a little more breathing room. So how many more launches actually do you want to do? Do you want it to be evergreen sooner, or do you want to actually do it? Is it more fruitful for the client to actually have it in a live setting?
So it's such a good question. I love your opinion. I have kind of like three different ideas.
Mhm.
One idea is to keep the launch model, do another launch in May. And I was thinking PLF launch because my thought process was to have something that I could send people to that takes them a little longer to get through, as opposed to there's a webinar on only this date and show up at this time or you miss it.
Yep.
And again, open to not doing it because the webinar went well, but then I had to figure out how that actually works.
Yep.
And then so to do one May, June, that'll kind of be the summer launch. And then to do my big JV launch October, November, and run that so people can, we're hitting 2020, get their 2020 clarity. I know we're all going to vomit by like October when people say that, but get their 2020 clarity, get their marketing strategy ready for the new year. So I figured 3 launches in the year for it. Another idea was, my original idea was to turn it evergreen right after the initial launch. Let people go through it, do kind of like a COD, clients on demand, Russ Ruffino model, where people are constantly coming into the program. We're working with them wherever they're at. There's still the weekly coaching calls. Maybe some are on foundation, some are on implementation, whatever it is.
Yep.
That was another idea. And then the third idea was to turn it into more of a membership site where people come in, they're paying just a couple hundred month one. They get access to everything month one. Right. So it's a little more like, ooh, that's cool, but there's no way for them to go through it all in month one. So they have like an easy 6 to 12 months content. So I already have, from the 8 modules I taught, really, I did it in 8 weeks. People will probably be happier doing it slower. My guess is if it wasn't in a forced 8-week program.
Yep.
So we could easily pull that to a 3-month and they'd be happier. And then I have so much material. It's like insane.
Yeah.
So I could easily have them have 12 months of modules and then be constantly funding people into that. There's, again, weekly coaching call, me, other people that I bring in, and people have whatever material they want to go through. We have a recommended sequence that we would recommend, but they can come in and take any module. They can start it on marketing. They can go straight into clients. One idea was to have it start on marketing and then only open up after 3 months.
You have lots of ideas, so I'm going to stop you for a second.
Ideas.
I know.
I'll stop now.
No. This is great. Let me ask you this. Do you like launches?
No.
Okay. That's huge. Some people love the energy, getting people all in at once. Do you think that it would be more advantageous for you and your team, by the way, to have clients go in one chunk? Or, because the issue with the clients on demand is just that who is where and stuff like that, right? So which one do you think would be better for team? And then which one do you think would be better for clients? We already know you don't like launches.
I don't like launches because it's just so overwhelming. And again, you can't be constantly like, I have a podcast and I guest on podcasts and I speak at events. And when you do a launch, you cannot be maximizing on all the things you're doing all the time organically. Yep. You have to take a bunch of money, time and energy, throw it at something, hope the results are as good as you wanted them to be, and then plan better for next time. That annoys me. I don't really know who made that up.
Well, so this is my philosophy on this. I really like to have foundational revenue, which you do through your consulting practice. So that way you have a base level. So we're not doing, because the other thing, launch is a pain in the butt. I do like to have launches once in a while, because JV launches or something like that, because it does create a lot of buzz. And when everybody's talking about it, it makes a big difference. But I don't like to be reliant on them. And having an evergreen sequence, potentially, I know you're going to have potentially even more than one program, having one that's more launch style and one that's not gives you a little bit more flexibility. That's just my personal opinion. When it comes to this, though, I don't like testing different things different times. And this is what I see you doing, and I love you. And it makes it very, very difficult to actually get the conversions better when we change, right? Because if we change one, I'm a geek, right? We were talking about this, programmer, right? You change one variable, you change 10 variables, you don't know which one the problem was coming from. And so when we look at this, I would prefer, this is my opinion, this next launch, actually make it be a launch. Go all in on the outside marketing side so you can actually understand what works, especially in paid and some of this other stuff that you were listing out here if you want to do some organic side of things, and it gives you a chance to do it all at once and get more data, right, on something that you already know works. And then from there, especially because, as you said, and I've seen this a lot, we pack a ton into 8 weeks. And then when you break it apart longer, right, but at the same price point, you're doing more calls, potentially. You're having more team stuff. You're making less profit, right? So I want to run it again the way it is and find out how that goes. Does that make sense? And make sure the other thing is that you don't want to just overwhelm your people so much that they're like, ah, right? You want them to actually get a lot out of it and actually get results, which I know is your goal, which is why I love you. And we want to make it easier for them. So because we're tweaking so much, I just don't want to give you too much craziness. That being said, I would most likely do a launch again, okay, in Q2. I might not do a summer launch. I like your idea of the JV once we have it all raring and ready to go. What that does, though, is it totally shifts our numbers. Does that make sense? And don't get me wrong, we could probably do an evergreen or some sort of style that we're tweaking in Q3, but you had so many other ideas. So can you list out what else you have on the list before we start tweaking too much on what goes where? Like what else is in Q2? Speaking it, like how busy are you Q2 and then Q3 and Q4?
Okay, so as of now, Q2, saying I have all my regular stuff, which is I have my podcast, I have my consulting, we have our Done For You service, and now I have this program, which, you know, today was the last coaching day of it, but yesterday I sold it to 2 people because to let them go through it on their own. And one person did it with an add-on. So she's going to go through this on her own. So she saves money. And then we're going to just have a couple of meetings to wrap certain other pieces up that aren't in the program. So I'm still selling it as a thing because I have it. Why not? So instead of selling someone, is that bad? Should I not do that?
So the tough thing is this spray, right? And go, I would love just one tip to go all in on something. And don't get me wrong, you have a lot of things, but you're going to be pulled in a million different directions. When I was looking at your time audit, I'm like, wow, you are doing a lot of different things, which you're good at. Don't get me wrong. And you can handle it. And it is not very scalable. I would much rather have you go all in, double how many people you want to have coming into the actual program. I just interviewed yesterday one of my previous clients. His name is Joey Kornman. He created a site called School of Motion. When he started doing really, really well in his first beta, he sold 10, 15,000 on the first one. He was like, oh, I want to create another course. And we're like, no. Both me and Pat Flynn yelled at him, right? For you, you're smart. You know that. You know not to create another course. But if you imagine the 70 people versus 140 people going through the same course, if your team can support them, I know that's a total separate side question, you're making a lot more. And you're good at marketing. I won't say that to everybody because they're not good at marketing and then they put these big numbers out there and then they can't hit them and they're like disappointed. But if you're really good at marketing and you level up that piece and you know your team can support it on the end, less launches or less of that will make the timeline a lot smaller. Does that make sense? Then you have to launch twice instead of 3 times, technically, if you're going to just do the launch model.
Right. So we're saying don't do a summer launch, just do a really strong November launch.
I would do a stronger, like we said, a stronger Q2 launch.
Strong Q2 launch. Problem is the timing, right? It hits summer. So I'm speaking at a conference in May that should have about 400 or 500 people of my target audience. Okay. I'm going to be attending another conference that'll also have a couple hundred. Conference 1, I'm definitely speaking at. Conference 2, maybe.
What month is conference 2?
They're actually 3 days apart. They're middle May.
They're both in May.
It was totally not on purpose.
See, so that's my point. Putting in the boundaries of what we already have planned will make it so don't get me wrong. I love you speaking in front of conferences of your ideal avatar. That's brilliant. And they love you. And I'm sure that converts way better. And if we don't actually have the pieces fleshed out on what's going on and when, as best as you can, don't get me wrong. There's always something that's going to come up. There just is. But putting boundaries on what we're doing and going all in on it is going to be huge for you, just as the focus side. So May, we might have 2 speaking gigs, which is quite a bit.
And I figured that we'd funnel them both into that summer launch, right? So that we could run this program again beginning June. If middle May is the conference gig, then I can push the course there. I can push those people into a follow-up. I had thought PLF, but now we'll say webinar or web class. And then do the launch off the back of that for the summer, based mostly on those 2 conferences and maybe some paid traffic.
Have you launched in summer before? With your list?
Yes. My
How'd it go?
first course, which was last summer, which was the Foundation for Marketing Magic, was launched in the summer.
Which
That
month?
I don't uh June. I
Okay.
think it was like June. Yeah, it was mid-June. I ran it from mid-June through July. We finished before August because August is when people really check out.
Well, so it depends on the avatar too, right? Like a lot of people are like, and see you later. So that's trying to get the timing. What if we bumped? So you're saying it's already April. So when are you doing the first launch? At the end of April?
No, that was the only one I was going to do.
Oh, okay. No, then I
I was
like
going to
that
do
one.
one. No,
Okay.
nothing. Now we're finishing, right?
Yep.
Next week is graduation. Then we sit down, collect all our ducks, and
Great.
start to like, okay, this module people struggled with. What can I do to upgrade and update it?
Great.
Let's look more at the numbers. Let's gather the testimonials. Let's upgrade the sell page. Let's plan the dates.
Okay. So all of
There's an
April
organization
is
that has me doing a webinar May 30th. So I figure like between the conferences and this organization that wants me to do this webinar, like we'll push everyone into this one
totally
launch
cool with that.
that should hit beginning of June, still the same 8-week program, and run it again there with kind of now knowing a little bit more from more cold traffic also.
Yeah.
Get those numbers. And again, I had thought PLF. Now I have to kind of reassess that because I didn't want to do a JV launch until I was more confident on my numbers. Because the JVs will be happier. If I could say, hey, ran it once, this looked awesome. Ran it twice, looked more awesome.
I agree.
You definitely want to be in here.
I agree. Having your numbers will be great. So all I was saying, I thought you were saying you're trying to squeeze in 2 launches. And I'm like,
oh my gosh,
that's not
no.
good. That'd be crazy.
No, I couldn't even breathe then.
Exactly. Well, you like to take on a lot. So I was just checking.
I do.
Okay.
No, so I've been selling people on it to go through completely independently. Not as part of any launch, but I said to them, I said, listen, we're going to do it live again in June. You'd be part of the group coaching. And both of them said to me, I can't wait till then. I said, cool, you can pay the exact same amount and go through it on your own right now. You don't have to wait.
So, but that's without the group coaching calls. That's just a digital.
That's just the digital product.
Okay. Perfect. And then they'll get the group coaching for later. That's
what I said. I
like
said,
that.
You can take it right now. And I have no problem with you joining in the group coaching when we launch it again.
Okay.
So now I'm not going out and selling it. It's just it's for the inbound leads because I'm this wacko. And I'm like, if you can spend less and get more, why should I sell you a one-on-one strategy just because we're not active in the program? I have this program.
No, I totally, I thank you for being nice to people. That's great. And in looking at what else do you have in Q2 that's coming? So you have 2 speaking gigs.
So I have 2 speaking gigs at least.
Okay.
I won't tell you that I had been thinking of revamping my podcast. So I didn't say that.
When are you redoing estierand.com? Isn't that coming up soon too?
That's going to have to be in May also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep giving me everything you've got because that's the thing. I'm writing all this down and going, right? Because there's a foundational level. Actually, let me ask you this first. The foundational level of how much time, I mean, I was looking at your time audit, how much time you're spending on consulting, the podcast and everything else. How many hours a week on average do you think that takes up?
So podcast takes anywhere from 2 to 3.5 max because I just record. It's either if I record 1 or 2 episodes. I record it and then I don't touch it. I drop it into the folder. My VA at this point has been trained.
But I mean everything. So give me because I saw your time audit. I saw the 30-something hours that you work, right? Ish.
Yeah, no, I do. So client hours, I'm pulling up my calendar right now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say 20.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay, so that's what I see here. I see 11 hours billable client time and just biz dev alone was 17. So I was like, okay, does that include your podcast? That must include parts of your podcast, and you had a couple other chunks in there.
That's podcast, and I'm working with that other coach, and I'm
that's
taking
28
all these
hours
other trainings.
though. That's 28
a lot
hours.
Of time. That's a lot of time.
So when we start adding more things in, don't get me wrong, your team can definitely take pieces too. But when we're going, hey, we already have a full list for consulting clients for the next 3 months, and I'm doing 2 speaking gigs, and I just want to make sure that we're nailing the stuff that we're doing. And I know you do. I just want to make sure that we've got the pieces and the right focus in time. That way you'll achieve way more this year by going all in on that. Does that make sense?
Right. And I should tell you that the last week of May, I'm like MIA because my brother, I'm one of 3 siblings, is getting married and graduating Harvard Law School. And he's doing it the same week because overachievers. So his wedding's like on Mondays, graduation's on Wednesday. So I am like complete MIA that whole week. We're flying out to New York for the wedding, Boston for the graduation.
And your launch is going to be literally like the next week or the week after.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Okay. When I run these numbers, I totally get you. I was wondering why you weren't doing your launch in the last week of May. That explains it.
Because I would have otherwise. Originally, that's exactly when I wanted it. But then he went and planned a wedding and told me that's when his graduation was.
So when we're looking at that, and that's the thing that I just want to get across. I know you want to work 35-ish, maybe 40 hours a week because you have 5 children. And that means if on average your foundation time is about 20, 25 hours, and that's being very conservative, by the way, you have maybe 10 hours of actual time to work on something new.
When we say actual time to work, we mean on this stuff.
On this stuff.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair.
Extra, quote unquote, playable time, right?
Extra playable time.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. You're really effective and efficient. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just trying to go, what do we give you? What do we give the team? And who do we need in place if that's the case, especially as we're going through? Because you also said you might need a new admin. So you have to hire a new admin before you do the next launch, right? Potentially. So when we start backing it up, we go, there's a lot of chunks. Instead of running, and I've told you this, running and falling on your face or almost falling on your face every second, not cool, which we do as entrepreneurs, don't get me wrong. And we do it well. And I want you to feel like you can actually take back and nail it and go, I did that really, really well. Like I did an amazing, effective job, not just efficient on random stuff, effective on the ROI of what I was looking for. So in April, it looks like you're going to be tweaking the whole launch process from what you've learned from before.
So we have to be fair on April. I'm Jewish and it's Passover. So there are 2 weeks of April that literally don't exist for me.
Okay. See, and there's 2 weeks. So there's a week in May that doesn't exist. There's 2 weeks in April that don't exist. Then it's summer and your kids are on school break. I'm just saying, like there's a whole thing, right? So in April, if we make one of the big rocks in April for you, tweaking the launch, I mean, that's going to be huge. You're going to be launching.
Tweak the launch and the brand. The thing that is eating the most time and energy right now is the update to the Estie Rand site. Right. It's figuring out the thing that pulls it together, right? Because full service consulting firm, like you heard my pitch at the beginning, I got that. I know how to explain that. Yep. This new entity, I do not know how to explain it. And I made marketing magic because it's my best hook. It's my favorite topic. Yep. It is the most strongest need for my audience, but I'm not a marketing agency and I'm not just a marketer either.
And that's what's so interesting because when even you said the shtick at the beginning, it actually sounded like you were. I was like, I'm going to put you in the marketing agency bucket. Now, the interesting thing is part of it could be just your resistance to marketing agent bucket, right? Like, I don't want to be one of them. They get bad reputations, right? Side note, which we can talk about later. But when we're looking at what you actually do, estierand.com, how many hours more in April is it going to take you to get that actually launched? Because usually that's double what we think it is also.
Right. So put it this way. It could take anywhere from 1 to 500 million hours to figure out the core brand. And as soon as that's done, right, I can hand, I would say 95% of it off because our team knows how to structure, build, and do everything with websites. Great. It is the core brand that is eating all my life force.
Okay. So can you batch that or no? Is that something that's a creative process that takes a long time? Potentially.
I want to say it's almost like a spiritual process. Like I just need to download what this thing needs to be. And I feel like we get closer every time. And at one point we did look at just going marketing and I sat with it and I told the team, that's it. We're going in the marketing direction, marketing agency style. And then I just felt awful. I felt awful because I'm like, we do so much more in terms of business strategy, in terms of staffing, in terms of client management. And it's so limiting. So much of my content that's out there is not necessarily marketing.
Who is your micro business owners that love you? What do they want? Do they think that they want a marketing agency or do they think they want consulting?
Split. None of them come to me because I'm a marketing agency. They come to me because I'm not. They come to me because I understand marketing, but I do business coaching consulting. Okay. So they come with a marketing issue, but what they want
is a
business coach consultant. That's why I did Marketing Magic. It's a marketing hook, but if they wanted an agency, they wouldn't come to me.
Okay. Call it a consultancy, call it an agency. To me, as long as you're avoiding the shtick of you don't want to be called a marketing agency because it's bad, that's tweakable. On your website, you can literally have it's a consulting firm or whatever the heck you want to say. And then later you can update it and say marketing agency for later too. Now, don't get me wrong. I get the whole brand thing. What my question though for you is, because this could go on forever, no offense, creative types like to let it go on forever and ever and ever.
So far, easy 6 months in the chair.
Right?
47 revisions on the logo. If I didn't pay the graphic designer per hour, she'd probably be upset.
Ding, ding, ding. So this is stopping you from doing all of the other things, and we do need to make a decision. So what I would do if I were you, especially because I get that it's a spiritual thing, like literally, what I would do if I were you, this is my process, not necessarily your process. I would take days away from the children, like 2 or 3 days, hotel, cabin in the wood, whatever the heck really gets you in touch with your own self and not dealing with all the outside things. And then commit to coming up with whatever the final decision is at that time, even if you're not 100% happy with it. Because no offense, you're never going to be 100% happy with it. Ever, ever. You're a perfectionist. It's going to be 98% at the best. Okay? And getting this out the doors.
I can handle with anything above a 95. I'm good.
I'll check in with you. So keep checking in with yourself. Try and get it done by day 1. 95%. No. Day 2, right? No pressure. But the goal, it's something that is ever evolving as a business. You can never nail it. Never. Even when people get brand new, even most of the time when they get a whole brand new website, they're like, this is amazing. 2 months later, they're like, okay. So let's just nail something and nail it for good. So I would batch in April if you can, because that stuff is holding you back from all the rest of the stuff. You can't do a whole big crazy launch when you're like, I don't know. I think it's this site, but I hate this site because it has old dates. So that means you have to actually finish the branding stuff in April and potentially launch the site in May. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that was my goal. Yep.
Okay. Then I would start pre-launch potentially, because you're probably going to have a lot more pre-launch stuff, especially if you're launching in June 1st and you're going to be gone the week of May. So that means you're pre-launching a little bit earlier. So
what does a pre-launch look like if it's webinar? See, that's what I thought a PLF was, right? A product launch funnel that gives you pre-launch. You throw a webinar in the middle of it. So what if I cut that out and I'm so cool to not have to do that? What does that look like if I'm doing webinar launch?
You can totally add something to the front of the funnel that you're already doing. Product launch formula usually isn't a webinar. It's usually a 3-video sequence and blah, 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 right? So when you said that, I took it as that. If you didn't mean that, that's totally cool too.
No, I meant that. But the ones that I've seen, they have the 3-video sequence, but somewhere around the timing of when you hit video 2, 3, there's like some live something or other that you throw at people for the sell.
Totally. Yes, which could be a webinar or whatever. So to me, feel free to add extra stuff that will keep them more engaged, especially if you're coming from cold traffic, to warm them up. Some people will do a challenge. I know one of my clients challenges for a week beforehand works extremely well. It really kind of depends. I wouldn't go crazy nutso, but all it is to warm it up, especially the cold audience, warm them up a little bit more. So if you want to do a video or a couple video series, that's fine. I don't want you to rewrite your whole webinar. I want your sales assets that already convert to be used. Feel free to warm them up a bit before. Don't confuse them, of course, but warm them up before. That's okay.
What's that challenge look like?
Oh, it could be so much. I can give you a link to, let me write this down. So Jada Selner did a 30-day smoothie challenge. That was her whole shtick. She actually did a training with my mastermind, and I'll give that to you. So it's like an hour and a half training on how to create a challenge.
Very fun. Yes, okay, I'd love to see that.
Well, I've done lots of challenges. I've done 7-day challenges. I've done all sorts of things on the business side, and it gets people super excited and engaged. So to me, I mean, you could do that. If you know what your people really, really like, you could do a whole podcast series where you're like, hey, this is 3 podcast series all about this, and it's just prepping them more for the launch. Does that make sense? So I'm totally cool with adding some more pre-launch stuff. Just don't change the assets that are already working.
Right. This webinar worked. It converted really nicely. Keep it.
Yes.
Use it again.
Yes. Potentially put a lead magnet in front of it so that cold traffic's not as expensive. That's totally fine with me too. Just don't go, hey, I have something that works. Let me change to something else that I don't know if it works or not. Make sense? I see everybody do it.
Save me so many hours from having to watch that course.
Right.
I just cleared up my whole schedule.
In your extra 10 hours a week, you were just going to be watching that for 2 months. No, but you know what I mean. So I'll send you the Jada Selner thing so you can take a quick look at that. But literally, marketing, I would just do something at it soft to the beginning, so that way you can start testing it. That way, when you do go through JV, and I'd even chat with your JV people and be like, hey, what sounds really awesome to do? Some of my people use challenges, and JV people love that. Other people don't. So just chat with the people that you think would be JVs already and see like, hey, would you like a lead magnet? Would you like to do a whole challenge thing? Like, what sounds great to get your people super excited? And you're an overgiver anyway, so it's above and beyond, right?
Totally.
And ideally, it's different than here's another video, people, here's some more give. I'm going to give another video. Here's another video. Because no offense, your marketing professional people, they're micro businesses, but they still get the whole shtick, right?
Totally. And I love that idea. And I prefer to be different if I had the option. If someone says, hey, you can do the same thing other people are doing or something different, that's a no-brainer, something different. Thanks.
Well, and I agree. I am so one of those different persons. And don't take out what's already working, because I shouldn't say half the time. A lot of the times the different don't work. And you waste a lot of time going, this is a great idea. And you put it out there and go, okay, so next time I'm going to do that differently. Does that make sense? And I don't want you to take all that amount of time to be able to know that. So adding something to the front is a variable that can change, and that's awesome. Tweaking a couple things on the back end, like the price point of the VIP, is also cool because you can segment that and actually know that a little bit better. And then you actually have enough time to do this. So then April is the site, which is
the
a
site
big
and
deal.
the core brand and the one sheet and all of that stuff once we get our messaging to actually be cohesive.
Yes. And then you'll feel really good about that. So when you tweak the funnel, you'll actually have more core brand stuff in it, which will be great. So it'll feel more congruent with you for the launch for the JV stuff later anyway, right? May, well, you're gonna have 2 weeks off in April also, side note. And then in May.
Well, let's not say off.
I know.
Passover, 5 kids. I need a vacation when that's done.
Yeah, right. So, and that's my point. I totally, yes.
But yeah,
giving
we're
yourself
out for 2 weeks.
Because otherwise, the reason why I care so much about this is because otherwise you're just going to feel behind the 8 ball all the time. And then when you come in and sit down for work and you're like, I should have, it just feels crappy, super crappy. And you want to come in and go, I got that done earlier. Now I feel great, right? And a lot of the times it's giving yourself enough of a timeline. If you actually had a project manager managing you, they'll give you so much more time than you give yourself, most likely.
They do.
Yeah.
When my staff manages me, they're like, okay, we have an hour to discuss this. And I'm like, why? And then, like at 57 minutes and we're just wrapping it up, I'm like, oh, that was smart. That was a good idea. Good hour.
I would lean on them way more. I would also go through, I went over your time audit. Most of the stuff that you're doing is really the stuff that only you can do. Hence the reason why I'm chunking down what you're actually committing to on this. Because normally I can go through and go delegate, but that's part of your thing. So usually with a business owner, I can be like, you have so much you can delegate, hire a person for this, move that over there. You think you can do everything. You're doing so much client calls. You're doing stuff that's thought leadership. That's just you. And we can't expand that all that much right now. So let's get the slow and steady approach, get this so it's scalable and more scalable so you can repeat it. And then you can make more money. And then you can really not do as many consulting clients. And that's where you're going to get your time back. Does that make
works
sense?
For me. I love it.
And then you feel like you take a breath and then hang out with your kids without feeling like you're not doing something on the other side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, or falling asleep on the couch.
Yes.
Where they're like, wake up.
You're like, I love you too, kiddos. Mommy's tired, right? But it's true. And so, and again, we've only gotten through it. I know we're already at time. I know we've only gotten through these chunks, but the goal is to go, this stuff has to come first so that later I can do more. We could have a whole strategy for getting you on stages and ideally right before all the launches, right? So we can do all that stuff, especially when we lean on your team, but we really have to squeeze the stuff that really takes you and put that in most priority. That way you can actually make more strategy in your own business because you're doing it for everybody else right now. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Awesome.
I love it.
Was this helpful?
This was so helpful. Even just telling me, like, when you told me I don't have to do a PLF, like already there, that just saved me like 30 hours.
Right.
Of coursework and launch and money on the videographer and the editor and.
Yep.
So that was ready. But like the vision I have now. So April, I'm dedicated cleaning up this, getting everything I need from it to learn from it, clean it up, get it better, get it set up, and do the core brands and the new website. Mm-hmm. May is dedicated to pre-launch content and
Two
and getting
speaking
that
gigs.
launch ready. Two
And
speaking gigs.
brother's wedding. No.
Brother's wedding. Yeah, like just that thing.
All the other stuff. Okay.
And again, all
tweaking.
the regular consulting on the side,
Exactly.
all that's still happening. And then June, July is running the next cohort, which I'd love to have double the amount of people in.
Which we can totally do when we prepare better this next time. Because the other one was, you did really, really well, and it didn't have a lot of preparation to begin with. You only used what you already had, which was great. But 1 or 2 posts about it when you could have, of course, gone a lot more. That's what I want you to be focusing on. That will give you more bang for your buck. And then you can actually give the people what they need and the launch sequence that you want, potentially even making it a little longer. And what I'll do, and I do this for everybody for coaching clients, is I'll give you the action items. So I'll break out April, May, June. Okay. And that way you can go, this is a big rock, this is a big rock, and give this to your team, by the way, and make them slap you. If you go, but I have an idea. Oh, wait, I want to go down this.
Shiny butterfly on the right. Let's
There
go.
was a rabbit hole I saw over there. It looked really cool, right?
There was candy in the bottom of it, and all the other rabbits were going in, and I just want to go with them.
And having somebody else, that to me is one of the biggest pieces for you. Having somebody else that understands the way that you work as a visionary entrepreneur that has way too many ideas and not enough time to be able to do them, to focus on this stuff. And that way in your free time, you can really be generating ideas, putting them on a list and just putting them in the right spot, right? Because I want you to feel free to create as many ideas.
Free time was a cool word. I was wondering what that was.
Right? Ding, ding, ding. Free.
I guess when this works, then we get free time.
Who knew? It's a thing. Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I feel like maybe when I was 16, I might have had some of that.
You also have 5 children. I can't do anything about that.
It's true.
Separate note.
I love this idea.
Perfect.
I love this idea.
So tell everybody again where they can find you, especially because once this episode goes out, your new site is probably already going to be launched, everybody, and you can give her amazing feedback on how great she did when she actually picked one. Go ahead and give me the site so that way everyone can, and spell it out so everyone can know where to go.
Sure. Go to estierand.com, ESTIERAND.com. And there's always a free gift sitting at estierand.com/free gift. It's different.
I know.
What I'm in the mood for.
I was going to say, it might change.
It will change. It'll be something relating to business development and marketing, depending on the day. So you could just go back and check once a month, see what's new. ESTIERAND.com.
Awesome. I love it. It might be the webinar that we've been talking about this whole time. That is amazing.
You know what? It might be the webinar. Who knows what will be sitting there by the time this goes live. There's always something cool, though.
Yes, I absolutely love this. And what we'll do for everybody listening is we'll put all the action items down also so you can see how we format it all. And then give me an update. Okay? So in 3 months, let me know how this goes, please. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. You got it. I will tell you about the 70 plus people that are in the next cohort of Marketing Magic.
I love it. Thank you so much, Estie. I really appreciate it.
Jamie, thank you. This was amazing.
I hope you enjoyed that coaching session. And if you want to be on the show, if you have a 6-figure business or above, I would love to have you on. Go to eventualmillionaire.com/laser. Fill out a really quick application form and we will let you know if you can get into